Hello.
All right. So we are going to get right into the newest episode of Cloud's Convos. Today we're going to have two special guests, one reoccurring that we've had in the past, and then a new one of which I will allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi. My name's Lucian. Thank you, everybody. Um, I'm very happy and I feel very honored to be here.
It is an honor to have you on the podcast.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome, Lucid.
Thank you.
All right.
Um,
No, you go right ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say I'm really honored to be amongst good company. We've recently met and like in person had some time to get to know each other at a local protest here in Rochester.
Hmm.
And that was an emergency response directly after Israel's illegal interception of the Samud flotilla, which was very upsetting, but it was heartening to see that we didn't just actually manage to maybe develop some traction or some momentum here in Rochester, perhaps. But did either of you see anything about the fishermen in Gaza?
Oh, about how the Samud flotilla kind of like allowed them to go out and actually like fish to get food.
Yeah,
Yes, that
yeah,
was amazing. That was like an amazing positive update.
yeah,
I did post about it on my TikTok, but I did want to kind of like point out that it is a small win. It
yeah,
is not a full victory.
of
There's still a
course.
lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I just think,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's it's heartening to see, I think, how how tangible momentum really is. And I think part of that obviously has to do with the global effort to sort of to stop the siege on Gaza, um, entirely seemingly on the part of the people and without the backing of their military and their government. But I think um, yeah, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. The people of the world have certainly been stronger than the governments of the world.
I
Definitely.
I agree with you. I think ultimately the what we should be taking out of this is that it is a story of hope, and that we need to continue this fight against G-side essentially,
Hmm.
what has been declared as such. But this is so important, and we need stories like this, stories of hope, stories of good things happening, to know how
Yeah,
important and how strong we are collectively.
yeah. Um, and the other part of what I was going to say was basically just that, fascists, colonialists, two sides of the same coin, they're incompetent and they're frail. And it really shows. That's why they frankly try to unalive us because they are just so scared. Um, think that they are right to feel inferior, frankly, when they are so full of hatred, and they just can't simply appreciate a good thing.
So
But
Absolutely.
on that topic, I did want to ask. So you are and have been for quite a while a boots on the ground activist. A little
yeah,
bit less of the online side and a little bit more of the in person side. To
I do.
people out there who may be wondering, like, how can they get involved? How can they make a difference? What can they do? What would you kind of say to like people wondering that?
Yeah, I mean, try not to. I try not to. I try not to let ego or anything like that get involved frankly, is like my first and foremost policy. And I know that like there's not a lot that I can do that feels very dynamic and like impactful. But what I do know is like donating to people in Gaza that I have like vetted to make sure that they are from Gaza through a very simple process that I can see the effect that it has in their life, and it's very important. I've made sure people can afford food and medicine that they need, and that's the easiest way that you can definitely help people in Gaza. But obviously, you know, making sure people that are in Gaza can afford what they need isn't going to stop the G side um, and the colonization uh, project. So, getting your boots on the ground and disrupting, frankly, being a nuisance to the people that are profiting off of this because they're complicit and they know what is happening. So calling them is something that we've been doing and recommending, but know that they're not interested in being convinced. You have to you have to be a nuisance.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I feel like if we all kind of like get together, the best way that I can put it is it's easy in a world where everything is kind of just going wrong constantly to feel like the world is on fire and you're too small enough to actually do anything to put it out. But
Hmm.
what I like to tell people is if a bunch of small people get together, they can put
Hmm.
out a fire the size of the world. It is not
Yes.
impossible. It's very easy to get discouraged, but you just have to remember like you are not alone in this fight.
Hmm.
I feel like social media and stuff like that is a very good way to network, to organize. Be very
Yeah.
careful, obviously, about the things that you do share on said social media. Use kind of more encrypted messaging apps to communicate with plans about how to
Mm-hmm.
organize protests and stuff like that. Be
Yeah.
cautious of like the inside information behind those protests that you're sharing publicly, and stuff like that is very important. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I would actually want to add, I think, a bit of perspective that I have on that matter, which I do see a lot currently, and I think that it is just that Americans are understandably a bit terrified of our immensely bloated surveillance and police state, but at the same time, like I see people who are like wearing masks and perhaps like leaving their phone somewhere, turning it off when their only intention is to stand on the sidewalk and chant at the acceptable volume permitted to them by, whatever authority told them to be quiet or to get off of the private property. I see this very often, and frankly, I do think that there's a bit of a LARPing culture that develops in our communities sometimes. And I think that we need to be very serious for Gaza. Um, Being cautious of the surveillance state is absolutely important, but don't put the horse or what's the phrase? Don't put the horse before the wagon.
yep.
Um, Cart before the wagon.
Cart before the wagon, or
Yeah,
cart before the horse.
Yeah.
yeah. Cart before the wagon. Yeah, I knew I was saying it backwards, but yeah, we have to actually be willing to be disobedient um, before we start worrying about being punished by the state. Because currently, I don't think that it looks at us as a threat over here, and we can certainly see like other movements over in Europe that are putting it on the line, so to speak.
So here's what I'll ask both of you. There
Mhm,
is a lot of misinformation that goes around, especially regarding the conflict happening in Palestine currently, such as
mhm,
a lot of people, labeling this as a war when it is very clearly not a war. This is a genocide. Um,
mhm.
what would you guys advise people to do to be able to kind of like weed out the misinformation from the actual information that is supposed to be being kind of given out there in more of a proper manner?
Um, did you
I
want me to speak on that? Go ahead, actually.
I would say making sure that everything that you read is validated by a credible source. I know that we talk a lot about how, certain media can be less reliable than others. So it's important that we are cross referencing and fact checking. Cloud talks a lot about ground news. They do a great job of doing a lot of that legwork for you. But if you cannot afford or whatever the case may be to have ground news, just making sure that you're cross referencing your research and looking at verifiable sources is so important in this day and age. It takes a little extra work, but it is so worth it to just absolutely know what is happening.
Yeah, and I think kind of what you're alluding to already is independent sources do actually exist, and they are sort of there's sort of an up and coming um, community or culture of independent journalism that's developing, and you're seeing that in TikTok, and you're seeing that coming straight out of Gaza. Um, and Yeah, we definitely have to support that because that's that's one of the most fundamental weapons is investigative on the ground journalism, which is dying here for the most part. Um, but yeah,
100%.
I definitely agree. I am a big user of ground news. However, you can also just use Google. Google, if you just like look up what that source is that's giving you information, you can kind of just type in like, is this known to be a reliable source? And
yeah,
Google will definitely let you know. They kind of what they do is they analyze the factuality basis even on Google the same way the ground news does, and they go based off of how many out of all of the articles these people have produced, how many of them have actual misinformation in it, and how many of them give
mm,
factually proven information. So definitely just
yeah,
using Google is very good. Don't just look at the
mhm,
AI overview, like actually go
mhm,
into researching this stuff, which is a really weird topic because people's views on AI kind of go all over the place. I think that it
right,
can have its positive uses. I don't think that the way that a lot of people use it is positive. But I think using it to get information, as long as you're fact checking any information that you get from it, can be a very helpful thing. Um, On to the little bit of the next topic. So recently, Donald Trump kind of proposed a 20-point plan, of which I kind of shared with you guys before we started this stream. You guys had an opportunity to kind of look through it. What are your thoughts on this 20-point plan? And do you actually think that this could bring peace, or if this is just another smoke show to essentially kind of force the Palestinian people into compliance?
I just want to say I don't think it is possible to underestimate how bad faith this plan is, and I don't know if anybody wants me to expand on that, but I frankly I don't think that um, our authoritarians and our dictator. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can say that.
Am I allowed to use that term?
Yeah. You
Um,
can say
is
dictator, you can say fascist, authoritarian, just like
yeah,
the
I really don't think that he's at all that capable or interested in being subtle with um his his offer to the people of Gaza. Um, it's extortion at like even in the sort of most positive framing. You know.
I think
I agree.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think I think I agree a lot with what you are saying, and I would just like to add that it reads to me. We all know. I feel like it's common knowledge at this point. The Taliban and all of that, how we reacted in Afghanistan was a very, very, very bad job. And
Hmm.
for us to turn around and offer the exact same thing to the Palestinians is a slap in the face.
Hmm. I agree.
It is.
I basically think that honestly, I think that it's a slap in the face. It's telling them to basically um sub to submit, um to just allow the occupation to sort of cement itself here, and accept whatever else may come with less than they would have if they am I allowed to say, well, it's international law to resist an occupation. So yeah, I'm sure I'm allowed to say that, right?
Yeah, you're all good.
Yeah. Yeah. Um I frankly I just think it's just submitting with extra steps.
I can definitely agree to that. I think a lot of the plan is I wouldn't necessarily say in good faith in any
Mhm.
degree. I think a lot of it has some pretty good pathways, surprisingly, for Donald Trump to get to a place of peace. I feel like the disarmament aspect of things is a little bit more
Mhm.
dangerous. I think still allowing Israel to occupy the Gaza Egypt border is also very difficult, very very dangerous. I
Mhm.
think that the plan doesn't necessarily guarantee Palestinian statehood in any degree. It doesn't give any strict timeline on when a Palestinian statehood would be established. It kind of just vaguely insinuates that the path to Palestinian statehood could be built in the future potentially. Um, and I
Mhm.
just think that it doesn't really give a lot of solid guarantees that really protect the people of Palestine.
Mhm.
I think essentially what it would serve to do is if Hamas agrees to the 20-point plan in full, which they have already said that
Mhm.
they're not down for
Mhm.
the disarmament, which has been a
Mhm.
big point of contention consistently every single time a peace deal has been brought to the table, is that Hamas
Yeah.
doesn't want to disarm. And the
Or
good,
yeah.
the
They
sole,
they
yeah,
also yeah, yeah. The election interference is something they're also not down with.
yeah,
Sorry.
like the forced establishment of a government inside Palestine by outside forces instead of having an actual election to elect in new leaders is also kind of wild.
Mhm.
Also the way that Trump phrases it in terms of saying new Gaza multiple times throughout the plan,
Absolutely.
in phrasings such as like making Gaza great,
Mhm.
kind of signals a very worrying trend of patterns that we've already seen here in America potentially opening up in Gaza. And I'm not
Actually,
really
I would like to
go ahead.
add something to that, on
Hmm.
that. Yeah, I do think that Trump and I think many of his like constituents surrounding this, but Trump in particular, let's just speak on him because he has shared amongst a number of goofy AI images as of late. One was a newly developed sort of like what's a Dubai, like a Dubai-esque um resort built on Gaza. And I think that may have been what he was referring to as New Gaza or something like that. But his constituents are just salivating over like fresh real estate to them. And I again don't think they're very subtle or clever. So Yeah. Uh, that'd be like ferrying a scorpion across your back, on your back across the river. No, I don't don't trust it at
Yeah,
all.
not in any degree. And essentially, what it is I feel like Israel's just kind of using Trump as a puppet right now.
Mhm.
I don't think that he
Yeah.
realizes it. I think that he's in this position where he believes that he is truly leading this.
Mhm.
Whereas in reality, all it is Netanyahu essentially telling Trump, like, "Hey, um, I need your help because we need to like disarm these people because we want to just go full
Mhm.
Holocaust mode on them."
Yeah.
And Trump is just like, yeah, bro, I'll spread any misinformation that you want because
Mhm.
historically Trump is consistently on the side of the dictators and the oppressors, of which
Mhm.
they're typically people that he's considered strong men, strong leaders in the past.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and I think it's very indicative of how like he himself wants to be and how he sees himself,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially just given like the fact that he's single-handedly led us into a government shutdown. He has
Mhm.
created multiple AI videos to try to kind of like insinuate that it's just all the Democrats' fault,
Oh,
whereas in
yeah.
reality,
Mhm.
they control all three branches of government right now. They literally
Yeah.
control the purse, they control all of that stuff. They are making the decision to
Mhm.
have this government be shut down because they don't want the ACA Act to continue and all of its
Yeah.
subsidiaries that are included within it. So they want to essentially strip coverage from millions of Americans here, like here in America.
Mhm.
Like we're not even talking
Mhm.
foreign anymore. And it's just absolutely insane to me that he manages to consistently spin this in a way and promote misinformation, which some of these things that he's been doing, like having specific members of the government repost these lies, these attacks against the
Yeah.
government on official governmental websites, are direct violations of the Hatch Act, but we're not going to get into
Mhm.
that. um
Yeah.
and I just think it's wild because Trump always believes that he truly has like the power in absolutely all of these situations. We've seen it with Putin, we've seen it with Kim Jong, we've seen it now
Yes,
with
I was going to
Netanyahu.
say that.
Um,
Yes, yes. Thank you for
and
bringing that up.
he just talks and he thinks that he's helping, but all he does is just give more power and more stuff. Like I believe,
Yes.
and I don't want to be wrong when I say this, so I do want to make sure that I'm getting this quote directly. But immediately after um Trump had gone on national television to essentially respond to Hamas's letter that they sent out, and which was crazy, by the way. If anybody followed that, Trump actually
I
made a
don't think so.
mistake when he posted, and he posted originally the letter from Hamas, in which Hamas directly calls what Israel is doing a genocide again. Oops, sorry, G side. My bad, TikTok. Please don't take me down. A G side against the Palestinian people, and he just reposted it with almost literally no context to the letter whatsoever. Well, what he said
Mhm.
essentially was like, "This is our response to what Hamas has said," and then he just posted the letter, and it's crazy because
Mhm.
like what I expected, like when he got this letter, was he was going to censor it,
Mhm.
he was going to try to like manipulate it in a way that kind of like doesn't mention that, but
Mhm.
to my both surprise
No.
and non-surprise, the dummy goofy boy the
Yeah.
dummy goofy boy just straight up posted it. It was just like, yeah, I know they're calling it a G side and I'm not going to deny it, I'm just going to go ahead and
God.
just post it.
I
um
am going to miss him when he's gone. Oh my God. He has been doing that so many times lately. But continue.
uh no, you say what you were going to say because I'm
Oh
still
yeah,
looking for the
absolutely.
direct quote.
Um, I do actually kind of want to go off into a little tangent about this because we were talking a little bit about it before we had went on the air, and just the dynamic that Trump has with figures like Putin and these other, I would say, more genuinely top right um, portion of the political spectrum, the genuine fascist authoritarians like Netanyahu and Putin, who are, reviving that old school imperialism, that old school G-siding, um, you know, colonialism. And I think that Trump obviously sees that in these other figures. And I will, also just clarify that, I don't know if necessarily know a ton about these other authoritarians, but I'll definitely describe them as such comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, he wants to emulate them. And he's the bottom right portion of the political spectrum, the anarcho-capitalist. He wants his brown shirts here, uh, ice, but he's not an ideologue like many of them are. He just wants to keep consolidating power.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And building
which
his
is
wealth.
meaningfully different. Um, and it is weird to sometimes analyze the politics of it because sometimes it looks like splitting hairs. Because at the end of the day, like Bibi Netanyahu and Putin are certainly uh, it's a vanity project for them too, but it's complicated and kind of. They're definitely ideologues though,
Oh
which
yeah.
Trump is not.
So I did find the direct quote. Following Trump's announcement, Netanyahu released a video in Hebrew to his domestic audience where he said the following: "This is a historic visit. Instead of Hamas isolating us, we turned the tables and isolated Hamas. Now the entire world,
Mhm,
including the Arab and Muslim world, is pressuring Hamas to accept the terms we set together with President Trump
mhm.
to release all our hostages, both living and deceased, while the IDF remains in most of the strip. Who would have believed this? After all, people constantly say the IDF should withdraw. No way. That's not happening." So when I say that Trump has officially like deluded himself into believing that what he's putting into play is in some form like an actual solution, it is a grand delusion. It is not a minor
Yeah.
delusion. This is like a full scale delusion in which he believes that
Mhm.
he is just like the peacemaker, the deserver of all Nobel Peace Prizes, just like this just amazing person. He is wrong. He is a
Mhm.
puppet. He is weak.
He's
He is a
dumb.
frail,
Yeah.
weak man with a declining mental state, and I will say this
Yeah.
until the day that I die. Truly, it's just despicable because in the plan he tries to kind of like imply that this is going to lead to a Palestinian statehood, and that he is demanding the withdrawal of these. I'm not even going to say IDF, the IOF people.
Mhm.
Um, he's demanding them to leave, and Netanyahu's essentially saying like, yeah, that's good on the surface,
Yeah.
but guess
Oh
what?
my
It's
god.
not going to happen. And
Yeah. He's been saying that forever to everybody.
right.
That's been what he's been saying it out in the open since before Trump's presidency. Remember when Biden would write those red lines for Israel and say you can't cross here, Rafah, I believe it was.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. So I mean, they've been laughing at us pretty out in the open. I think you hit the nail on the head. Trump is not just incompetent. He's weak.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, he gets manipulated very easily by people as evil as Netanyahu.
And then it's like he calls for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of the force, the occupational forces outside of Gaza. And then like literally less than 24 hours, Israel kills another 70 people, including many children in this death, in this
Hmm.
attack. And it's just complete silence. Like Trump literally did not say a word about Israel unaliving
Yes.
70 people. Like he said nothing about it.
Well, he has
He
to get their opinion on it first.
Right, like he has to figure out how Netanyahu wants him to tell the story. Then he'll finally make a post about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's just also some of the most despicable wording
Mhm.
within this entire 20
Mhm.
point deal. Like where is it? Okay, number where, okay, number 5, I believe it was. Once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus
Mhm.
1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7th, 2023, including all women and children detained in that context. For every one Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. He's not even trying to hide it. He's not saying that it's 1,700 Hamas members. He's directly letting people know, like, no, as much as
Yeah.
they talk about the hostages, 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained, they're not
Mhm.
detainees, they are hostages. You were talking
Yeah.
about in retaliation for an attack that cost the Israeli population 1,200 lives, which again is a very bad. It's bad. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was justified in any degree. That's for people who are a little bit more informed than me to make the decision on whether that was justified or not. I don't personally think that
Mhm.
mass killing in any context is mass unaliving in any context is justified, if you ask
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
However, that still being said, is in response to that, we've turned around and me and you have had this discussion about how the numbers are really all over the place. The reported
Yeah.
numbers are roughly 67 to 69,000 confirmed people who have been unalive during the course of this, not even like the full course. We're only talking about since this October
Mhm.
7th, 2023 attack. 66 to 69,000 Gazans have been unalived, of which just such a small number were actually confirmed to even be members of Hamas. And on top of
Right.
that large death toll, we have almost 18 to 20 at this point thousand children who have been unalived in the process of this. And
Yeah.
on top of that, we have 1,700 plus 250. So I'm not good at math, but I'm pretty sure that's 1,900 Gazans who are officially hostages compared to the remaining maybe all of 40 that Hamas still has. Not to mention, Israel has been consistently kind of promoting that their military operations are just so successful when their military operations account for such a small amount of hostages actually released from Hamas's can't think of the word. It's such a simple word, yet I'm blanking. Um, I don't want to say possession because that just sounds wrong. But that have been released from Hamas. Um,
Mhm.
Most of them have been released through ceasefire deals and peaceful talks, and moments
Mhm.
where they're like, well, we'll release this many people if you leave this area, and then they leave this area. Hamas releases these people, and then they immediately come back and occupy the area again. So
Yeah.
it's not like Israel's military campaigns to release and save these hostages are actually even being successful or in such a large number. Most of these have been done through Israel doing what the Gazan people want, leaving them alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is a completely disingenuine, they are snakes. They've proven themselves to be that over the course of 70 years. They fully intend on, restoring the greater Israel, as they frame it in their own minds, which is already insanely delusional because there is no, this greater Israel in their mind is not historic lands. It is just colonization. It's just conquering um, blood and soil. And yeah, I mean, I don't remember how many different like nations they were including in this greater Israel in their minds, but I promise it doesn't even end at Palestine. it goes on to other nations. This is all just a symptom of the military industrial complex. And that is not going to stop because it makes money. And right now, like, Israel is the center of, unfortunately, like I referenced earlier, so much prospective business, uh, real estate. We talked earlier a little bit about, the tech industry, AI, surveillance, and of course, weaponry. Here in Rochester, even we have quite the booming business L3 Harris that it offers so many jobs to Rochester's citizens, but uh, provides the surveillance and I think even some of the weapons technology to Israel and their occupational forces.
Yeah. Lex, you've been a little bit quiet. You got anything to add on?
Not too much. I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a symptom of the military industrial complex, and
Hmm.
I think that we need to remember that the military, that's people, that's folks. Um,
Hmm.
so, so all of us need to be aware, especially those of us in in our American military. We need to be aware of what is going on and see it
Hmm.
through an objective lens, and not through a propagandized lens.
Hmm. Yeah, it's ultimately all a symptom of capitalism. I know everyone's really tired of that word coming up. It seems to always come back to that somehow. I promise we're not crazy. It's not mass like hysteria. It really is all about capitalism. And until we get over that hill, this is going to keep happening. I'm
I want
sorry, go ahead.
I want to just emphasize, it's not even just capitalism. This is a symptom of late stage unregulated capitalism. This is not capitalism in its essence, socialism in its essence. Any of those economic states in essence are not bad. They're ideas,
Hmm.
right? It's how we
Hmm.
implement them that makes it bad. And
Hmm.
how we have implemented capitalism is what makes it bad, not capitalism as a whole. Not capitalism as an
Well, I'm not sure that we have time to go into a debate on that, but I would. I
Oh,
would.
we have time. We have nothing
Oh,
but time.
I guess I would just say that I definitely think that the shift from feudalism into capitalism was an evolution, and it provided us a improved quality of life for a broader population. But I think that the what is it? The fifth? Is it the sixth extinction event that's currently ongoing on the planet? Mass extinction, I should say. I think that honestly, to me, couldn't be a clearer cry for capitalism to end and to shift into global socialism. And I think I would just dissuade any fears of a post-capitalist world by describing it as the simple process of building more worker co-ops and unions, bringing democracy, which we all, I believe, hold to be a sort of sacred institution into the workplace because obviously like corporations are too great an ally to fascism, and now that capitalism is in decay, as you say, and it's going to resort to fascism, resort to this old school um, colonialism and imperialism to generate to squeeze more blood from the stone, from the earth itself, um, to turn us all into slaves or to kill us and take everything that or unalive us, I should say. TikTok, you misheard. You misheard what I said. Um, Yeah. I think that capitalism is
I
innately like
you
this.
know, I can
Go ahead.
agree in a lot of ways. I do think that though capitalism did breed innovation, uh,
Mhm.
it also did breed the destruction of our planet, and
Yeah.
something that we need to be aware of. I'd like to just touch on recently. Jane Goodall passed away at the age of
Yeah.
91 peacefully in her.
What a legend.
What a legend.
Um,
Agreed.
an iconic woman. She and I just want to touch on that while we're talking about it. The importance that she really put on us valuing our relationship to nature and how much our planet gives to us really should
Mhm.
ring true in all of our hearts. And I align most with democratic socialism. I think that
Mhm.
Same.
the people need to have more of a say, and ultimately I think if you took a poll of people around any given area, they would say the environment is it's important to take care of the
Mhm.
environment, and we really
Mhm.
putting more of an importance on that.
I mean, unless you talk to Trump, in which, again, TikTok, what I'm about to say is not my own belief, so please do not strike me for misinformation. I do not believe this. Scientists do not believe this. Science proves the exact opposite. People listening, what he said is not true. But according to Trump, climate change just does not exist.
That is true. I mean, if
Right.
you took a poll, there would be a couple of goons. There would.
Yeah. But
But
like
And
it just kind of goes to show that people are very gullible. Actually today I was in
Mhm.
a Discord server, of which I will not say the name of on this stream.
Mhm.
But I was in a Discord server, and for the third time in my life, I had the unfortunate mispleasure of meeting a real life flat earther. Um, and
Oh,
they were so die hard on the fact that that they truly believe that the Earth was flat. And again, TikTok, this is very clearly has been disproven many a times. I am not saying that this is a fact. I am saying that this is someone else's personal belief, and it just completely trips me out that
yeah, but
science and evidence can show us one thing, but then we want to be so dead set in our ways and refuse to accept reality because accepting reality will mean one of two things: that either we were stupid all along or we were wrong.
Mhm.
And I don't think getting to a point where you can accept those things is necessarily a bad thing. Because if you never accept them, then you're going to just remain stupid and you're going to remain
Mhm.
wrong.
Mhm.
So that this fear of just like, I guess, the consequences of their beliefs, just
Yeah,
outweigh their desire to like learn or accept truth a lot of the
yeah,
times.
absolutely. Dunning-Kruger syndrome. I tell you, it's fatal. It'll get you.
it,
Um, I was going to say, you know, I actually have like a habit of leaning into, I think, some delusions that people will share with me in public or on the bus or at some of my former jobs. A lot of my former jobs, I swear, I have horror stories. But yeah, it's a real treat. You should lean into it sometime. Just be like, oh yeah, and ask him, tell me more. It's
I,
great sometimes.
I have chronic tell me your life story face. Um, so I do
Right.
have, whether you see it as fortunate or unfortunate opportunity, people do love to tell me all about their beliefs and belief systems, and it's so interesting hearing how people just think. I can't change your mind. A lot of times this happens to me while I'm on the clock. I work customer service, man. Like, I'll listen to
Oh,
you.
I
I no
I
comment.
feel so bad for you.
But right, having a tell me your life story face and working customer service, please, terrible
Mhm.
combination.
I
But
Mhm.
I have the
uh,
complete opposite. My coworkers have literally pointed out how sometimes I just have this face about me that's like, I'll be professional to you and I'll be nice with you, but don't talk
Mhm.
to me kind of face going on when I'm at work. Like they'll be like, we'll have the most difficult of people come in and they'll be like, oh yeah, so this with like all of the other
Mhm.
coworkers. I'm trying
Yeah.
not to say
Yeah.
my profession's name on TikTok, but all of my other
Yeah.
coworkers. And then when they come up to me, I'll notice they'll just be like, "Yep, I'm doing good. Yep, here you go.
Oh, that's
Thank
a
you.
blessing.
Appreciate it. Have a great day." And then these same people will leave good reviews on our Google page with my name included in them. And I'm like, well, obviously you didn't hate me,
Oh,
but like, why don't you want to talk to
wow.
me?
Double blessing. No, I have the same curse that Lexi has, except yeah. I mean, I don't have customer service, thank God. I think that's why I can't have customer service.
It's a tough field. I will say it does give me a lot of insight to like how do you think? Like how does your brain
Mhm.
get there? And I
Am
can
I
do
allowed to
micro.
am I allowed to say the word for I'm sorry, National Socialist, the National Socialist Party of of former German history? Am I
Yes,
allowed to use the term? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of Nazis. I swear, some people don't think they're around every corner, but they're around every corner and under every rock. Like they're all over.
Yeah.
they are.
And on that topic, actually, I just had a very, very, very in depth conversation with a family member, of which I won't say the specific family member's name or anything like that.
Mhm,
But I had
mhm,
a discussion, essentially that they couldn't accept the fact that racism is as prevalent, if not even more prevalent now in the way that people are effectuating it than it
mhm.
was maybe like 10, 15 years ago. It's kind of like
Oh yeah.
civil rights movement, things started looking up, looking up, looking up. And then,
Mhm,
like, in the past 10 years, things have just been making a very sudden and rapid decline back into how it was back then. And yet, given we don't have things that are happening on the same level as they were back then,
mhm.
you know, we have certain protections that are in place now. Um,
Yeah.
it's just crazy to kind of see like the parallels of now to then. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Which does
Oh,
breed
geez.
power that
Go
they do
ahead.
not. It does breed this, with all of these, executive orders and things like that. It gives us this idea that, like, well, they're gonna take over. There's nothing we can do about it. And it makes
Mm,
them look more powerful than they are. So I
yeah.
think more than ever, it's very, very important to remember where we came from and how we got the rights that we have and how important those
Mhm.
are.
Yes. And I know we're a little bit lost in the weeds going back to this, but it does kind of segue back into that. I think we have gotten here through a struggle of class warfare. And I think that I like to frame pretty much the entirety of Earth's problems in the context of class warfare, and this whole problem that we're having is because we have capitalism has shareholders basically make the decisions for how companies are run and how even their infrastructure is built and affects our communities. They get to decide everything about an industry basically, and they throttle the pay of the people who work there when you know, the people who work there should be the ones deciding that because without democracy in the workplace, we have things like factories poisoning the communities that they are built in. We have we have the military and prison industrial complex. You know, uh, shareholders literally profit off of these things, and they don't ever have to see the damage that it causes.
And then kind of like tying that back into the point that I was originally making. Um,
Mhm,
one of the biggest points of my argument with said family member was that I believed, and this is going to sound very controversial, and I'm sure that people all over who hear this take are going to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that they said this." Um, but I truly believe that Martin Luther King's overall I guess, fight that he was kind of waging here in
Hmm.
America was a net loss. I do believe that a lot of small victories were won and some big ones, but I believe that the overall
Hmm.
fight of eradicating that systematic level of racism and
Hmm.
oppression at our highest levels
Yeah.
of government was a loss. Like, yeah, cool, we passed the Civil Rights Act. That's great. But we still have politicians that are in power that are funding private prisons that essentially
Hmm.
incarcerate African Americans at a mass rate for profit because we still have
Hmm.
these for profit prison industrial systems in the first
Hmm.
place. It's just another form of modern day slavery. A lot of people
Yeah.
like to bring up the fact that, oh, well, black folks are such a small amount of the population, yet their percentage of crime
Oh,
is yada yada yada. All of these like nonsense talking points, and they never want to account for the
yeah.
fact that these black communities are over policed, and that when we talk about it and we break it down even further, the amount of people within the African American community that are arrested for a crime and then later having those charges dropped due to either lack of evidence or faulty discoveries along the way are
Hmm.
significantly higher than almost any other race here in America because
Yeah.
they're more likely to be arrested on the scene without any prior or full investigation being done. And then later they do the
Hmm.
investigation. And then at that point, this person now has an arrest on their record. They've had to take
Yeah.
time off from work. They've had to do all of these things, and nobody ever wants to talk about like the stuff like that. They just want to talk about like,
Yeah.
oh, but the crime, and black on black crime,
Hmm.
and this and that and this, and it's just all of these talking points that nobody wants to look at the reasons behind. People want to
Honestly,
talk about.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Honestly, we can't. I can't muster the energy to engage with anybody who thinks even remotely on that spectrum, because it what are we talking about? Not understanding the concept of basic material conditions. Let's talk about 40 acres and a mule. Whose family got that, and whose family was promised that and was lied to? And these material conditions have a lasting effect into the future. Who would have guessed object permanence, right? It's crazy. Some
Mm-hmm.
people develop it after 3 years old. Other people pretend they don't understand it, and they weaponize their feigned ignorance to just attack, to be a tool of the oppressors. I'm not buying it. I think that it's very obvious that crime is precipitated by inequality, and I think that that inequality has been manufactured for the benefit
You're cutting
of.
out. You're cutting out just a little bit there.
Okay. Did I
One
it's
second. One
thing?
second. One second.
Yeah.
Lexi, can you say something so I just make sure it's not my internet?
Yeah. How do I?
No, you're good. No, so Lucian, you're having just a little bit of connectivity issues. It's not Lex. I don't hear it on
Okay.
their end. So you sound like a little bit like a robot right now, essentially, or like a high level of auto tune. Lex, are you hearing it?
Yes, I am. Well, or rather, not hearing it. I'm hearing a lot of robot noises.
Uh,
Okay.
on your Discord screen, like where the voice part is, does it show like a Wi-Fi signal? And if it does, is it red, yellow, or green?
The worst. I am looking at sound speaker the sound coming out. There's nothing there. Looks like that.
I can't hear. I can't make out a single word you're saying right now. I won't lie to you. Try if you're on Wi-Fi, try disconnecting from the Wi-Fi and going off of your data. And if you're on data, try going onto Wi-Fi. Uh, I got quiet and it was just like, no sound detected. Please check your audio settings.
Oh, whoopsie. If I may, while we're waiting for him, I would kind of
Them.
like add on to
Lexi.
them. I
Yeah, them.
apologize.
Yeah,
I
but you're
apologize.
okay.
But while we are waiting for them to get back on, I would just kind of like to just add a little bit of uh, you know eh, conversation to that. I think absolutely. We have this as it pertains to the civil rights movement and things like that. Even if we go back to women's suffrage, I think that historically we have this tendency that the government gives us a cookie, and we kind of get a little bit stagnant as far as protesting and movements go when there is still so much work to be done. And I think that it is ultra disappointing that we are seeing all of those things being undone before we have even had the opportunity to get to the root of the issue,
Mhm.
because we've let the government give us a cookie and have gone about our days, historically, if you will. And I think that especially in these times, no amount of positive, no amount of cookies that the government gives us is going to be enough. We cannot stop. We cannot continue that historical trend. We've got to stop this. We cannot stop speaking out. At this point, they are going to give us crumbs and expect
Yeah.
us to be happy. This cannot go on. We have to continue. We have to be a pain in their side. We have to be cockroaches, crickets, cicadas, whatever you want to see it as, whatever
Yeah.
inf- infestation critter you want to think about. That's what we need to be.
Am I coming in clear?
Yes, a lot clear. More clear. Words.
Okay. I'm sorry I missed uh the intro to that part.
It was just essentially we got to keep going. We have this
Yeah.
historical to let the government just kind of give us a little bit, and then we're happy with that, and we kind of get stagnant for a little bit until something else big occurs.
Yeah.
And at this point, we can't really afford to be stagnant at all. No matter how many crumbs, cookies, whatever it is that the government gives us, we can't afford to stay quiet. We got to be a pain in the side.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
I was about to say, I believe before we had the attack of auto tune, you were just about to say something.
I was just about to say I think I left off basically just reiterating that it's the forces of capitalism in decay. Um, I don't actually. I think I just was referencing like the prison industrial complex, something that you had said, and I was expanding on that. But yeah. Do you remember where we were headed with that?
Ooh, now that is a very good question. Lex, do you remember?
I do not.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. I guess
I
it was.
I believe that I know I was saying that I believe that Martin Luther King's fight was an overall net loss due to the fact that we still have such a heavy level of systematic racism within our government as a whole. The prison
Mm,
industrial system being one of those biggest ones, but also like the over
mhm.
policing of marginalized communities such as like Latino communities,
Yeah.
in African American communities, lead to higher incarceration rates, typically of
Mhm,
which charges are usually dropped or people are later found innocent after having to
mhm,
serve time that they should never have
mhm,
served in the first place. Um, and more than just that, one of the biggest things I like to point out is the fact that I'm trying to figure out how to say this TikTok friendly, but honestly, I don't
mhm,
care. I'm gonna say it straight up because I think it needs to be said.
Mm.
Just the fact that we still have in 2025 lynchings happening absolutely anywhere in
Oh
America
yeah,
is absolutely
yeah.
ridiculous. And when I usually bring that up, people are like, oh, well, you know, only like 2 or 3 happen a year now. It used to be almost every other day. And I'm like, you don't understand how the fact that 2 or 3 is still too much of a number. The only acceptable number to how many lynchings should be allowed in America is 0. Like, that's
Mhm.
the
Hmm.
only acceptable number. And you can't sit here and say that America is healing or getting better when we don't have
Yeah,
0 happening. We have 1, 2, or 3 a year. You can't say that
yeah.
when we still have black folks who are getting their necks kneeled upon or chased
Hmm.
down in neighborhoods solely because they're jogging, or getting,
Hmm.
pew pewed because they have a bag of Skittles, or any number of reasons why people try to justify these things happening, or excuse, or whatever kind of like weird thought process that they have to kind of say, oh no, racism isn't that big of a problem, and it's only that big of a problem because people talk about it. It's only that big of a problem because not enough people talk about it. A lot
Yeah,
of people want to blame, like, oh, the rise of social media is the whole reason why this happened. If people didn't have cameras all the time, then nobody would be talking about it. And I'm like, that's a bad thing. Like, we should have cameras,
yeah.
we should be filming
Exactly.
this, we should be holding people accountable, we should be
Hmm.
showing the entire world the actions of these people. And don't even get me started on the unconstitutionality of ICE as a whole, being masked, non-identifying,
Hmm.
all of these just completely wild
And
things that are happening.
who do they go for? They go for a very wide array of different types of people because it's all politically motivated and always has been. And frankly, this fascism is like historically consistent with America's fucking domestic policy. I mean, we're founded on chattel slavery.
Hmm.
The G side of the native, the indigenous population. Um, like these were politically motivated. Sometimes, and sometimes, they were unpopular in some ways. But like populism requires that you consolidate enough power, not like the majority
Hmm.
in this country, unfortunately. Um, it's very unpopular, but it's been like in power. It's done damage to entire populations of people across the entire globe already. America, frankly, is like a hub of fascism and colonialism. It's spreading across the world. Um, and I did want to also segue this sort of topic into the rest of the world in Europe, being completely complicit. And many of our actors that sort of position themselves as basically neoliberals right now, they are all part of this sort of empire machine. Um, Even like the ones that are supposedly liberal opposed to America right now.
Well, I have my own personal views, and I've kind of gone over this. I think that I went over it when we were all in a call together at one point. My
Hmm.
views of liberals compared to leftist as a whole, and
Hmm.
and why I
Yeah.
particularly tend to go with the term leftist over liberal.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of liberals have kind of like lost the point. Like, they've
Yeah.
and for those liberals that do have the point, a lot of the times I feel like they think that the only way to go about it is the most extreme ways.
Mm.
And if people aren't following those extreme ways, they feel like that they're not doing enough, or they're performative, or etc.
Oh.
And it kind of contributes to a lot of like this internal cancel culture. Which, I'm all for accountability. I believe that anybody and everybody should be held accountable when they do something wrong. But I find a lot of the times that when you compare how the left handles this accountability to how the right handles this accountability, the right, like, unless you're actively. Ooh, Lex dropped. Are you? Are we good?
Hello? Are we good?
Did it
Hello.
disconnect me or did it disconnect Lex?
It
Am
seems like Lexi got disconnected.
Yeah, I lost audio. I apologize. Hello, I'm back.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
Uh,
Um, we were talking about how liberals are. You were kind of describing them differently. How I was kind of picturing. I mean, I was kind of describing them in the context of like positions of power, sort of.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
The liberal governments, I guess, is what I was referring to.
Okay, that makes
But
sense. I will
yeah,
finish
I
this
think
this
you're
thought
kind of
process.
describing like rad libs.
Yeah.
You're describing like rad libs. I feel like I'm describing like neoliberals, you know.
That's fair. And I will just finish that thought process because I remember where I was on that.
Hmm.
A lot of the times, like the right, unless you're actively going against their core principalities, or you're like not following the rule of Trump, they kind
Hmm.
of don't cancel. It takes
Hmm.
a lot for them to cancel. Whereas like the left, you can get canceled for a plethora of reasons. For
Hmm.
like you could say there's nothing that I can think that I would want to say on TikTok to not get canceled or kicked off of TikTok.
Well,
But
then I
like
would like to
there's just
counter that
there
unless,
there's
yeah,
and I get it again. Like we want to be the party that is different from the right, where we do hold these people accountable and don't just baselessly prop
yeah.
up people. Um,
Mm.
but there's a lot of, and I guess I've just noticed it like being on the social media side of things a lot. There are so
Hmm.
many people who have like valid voices that in
Hmm.
moments of discussions or debates or back and forths with
Oh,
people, they
our
may get
gate
a little
kept.
bit heated, and things may
Oh,
be said in like the heat of the moment that could be considered like bullying, but not necessarily
oh,
passing like any real lines. Like I was watching a
not creating
stream.
real systemic harm.
Exactly. Like I was well some of them do, and that they need to be held accountable for. But I was in a stream the other day where the streamer for like 2 hours straight was essentially like debating people from the right and hearing some of the most vile of things over and over and over again.
Mm.
And like someone came up and they were just being like overtly extremely racist, like off the rip, and so the streamers started making comments relating to the way that the person was breathing. um
Right.
and I won't go into too many more details because I'm sure me just saying that anybody
I
who knows what I'm talking about. And
well,
he made some comments that I personally feel were kind of just more like being in that state of defensiveness from constantly being subjected to like racist comments the entire stream. So he was very
yeah.
frustrated. So he responded from a place of immediate defense. And I don't know, a lot of people don't understand this like about the black community as a whole. But when
Mm.
we get defensive, our defense can sometimes typically be a little bit more vulgar than what white people may socially
Oh
accept.
yeah, yeah.
um
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
Definitely.
it comes from like a place of just fatigue of being so tired of being a black person who has to be subjected to this stuff.
Yeah,
And then
I mean,
during that
honestly, yeah.
stream he made some comments about the person's voice and their breathing, and then it turned out that that person was on a CPAP machine. um and
Right.
then those comments that were specifically directed towards that guest alone, I don't necessarily find fault with. A lot of people from the left
Right.
were labeling him as ableist, and then they started to
Yeah.
proceed in like dogpiling instead of just
Well, I
like,
would like to. I would like
yeah,
to just.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I guess I would. I would like to add a couple points. First, just being. I think Uh, only a Sith works in absolutes, or however that quote goes, right?
Hmm.
You can't, sever ableism from your like vocabulary or your behavior. It's innately going to be there. So, like we judge people for being unintelligent, and that is ableism. That's ableism. And like the left has to be willing to embrace that to a degree, because
um,
honestly,
so I'm
one
sorry,
of our most important one of
not to
oh,
cut
go
you
ahead.
off, but I will actually counter that because I do believe that like true ableism should not be accepted in any form. But I do feel
No,
like
I'm
that we
saying
need
to
to
a
be able to
degree.
like, yeah, exactly. I think we need to be
Things
able to take
are not
into
so.
account
Yeah.
like context as a whole when it came to what was going on in that moment. Now, here's what I will say
Yeah.
about that same streamer. They did go on to make other comments that I will not repeat
Mm.
and that I don't necessarily agree with
Condone.
to the people
Yeah.
in the chat that were trying to essentially let him know that like these comments that you're making are ableist. He was not very
Yeah.
receptive to that feedback. And then proceeded to feel like, I guess, a big thing is like we dogpile a lot of the times, and instead of like letting that
Yeah.
person like engage in a one-on-one dialogue with someone so that that one person can kind of like explain to them, hey, this is why what you said can be harmful, this is why you should take that into
Yeah.
account. They essentially kind of like dogpiled him, and then as a result
Mhm.
of that dogpiling he said some very 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 um borderline.
Reactionary things.
But even if it was
Probably.
reactionary, I will sit here and acknowledge that he went too far, and that even to
Oh
this
no,
day he
reactionary
has
is
yet to
bad.
take accountability for those comments that he made following.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really bad thing. He was very dismissive of the people who were, even if it was dogpiling, you know, they were dogpiling from a place of a very valid point.
Right.
And
And that's
instead of like
kind of what I was
addressing that
gonna
point,
lead
he
to.
just kind of dismissed it. So that was a little bit
Yeah.
wrong of him. But I feel like
Yeah.
had someone you know, someone requested up to just try to have that one-on-one conversation with him, it would have been very helpful before everybody went into attacking him. Um, but it is what it
Yeah.
is at the end of the day.
There's definitely a culture of moralizing in the left, and purity testing, and infighting and all of that. But like you have said, I think at the end of the day, it comes from a place of accountability a lot of the time. Whereas I would say that I think your earlier claim that the right doesn't do cancel culture. Honestly, I will really fight hard on that one. I
Well,
think that they do it
within their
so
own
hard.
culture, within their own
No,
culture,
I
they're
would say that's the thing though. They do it so hard that it actually becomes difficult to notice, because it's to their culture is more of an environment where the nail that sticks up has already been hammered down. You know, they will cancel the fucking shit out of you. If am I allowed to say that? Should I? What's my language there?
yeah, you're allowed to cuss. We just can't do it like super frequently, so we can't be like dot 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 over and over
Yeah,
again. But if
they
you
will
say it in
cancel
the,
you
yeah,
as hard as humanly possible for doing something as simple as, I don't know, wearing like a different colored pants than usual, or having your hair too long, or a piercing in an unusual spot. They will come down on you so hard.
well, I do want to back up and say that I did say unless you don't meet their like strict standards of what
Right.
of a right winger should
But
be.
it's
Like,
so bad. You can't be too melanated. Your hair can't be this color, this texture. It is so insane. They are so hegemonic, and I would say that's true cancel culture. Because I mean, they also pro clutch about it so hard. They pretend like they're victims because they have to see us walk down the street in public. You know
hmm
what
so
else is cancel culture if not that?
I want to do something that not a lot of people do. Um,
Yeah.
and Lex, I'm putting you on the spot here, okay?
Okay.
Mm.
Um, I would like to get your specific thoughts as a person who you know, has a uterus. What are your thoughts on just the state of the world when it comes to, not even the world, of America right now when it comes to women's rights?
I think this is a really big piece that we're really not paying attention to. Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think this is something that is often put on the back burner. I we've seen atrocities happening all over the place, especially in red areas when it comes to Planned Parenthood and things like that. We are seeing women being held as incubators um, for children who are being born with severe, difficulties, severe, life-threatening illnesses and disabilities, and we're sticking that debt onto the families.
Mm-hmm.
This is a disservice to when you come for mothers, you come for everyone. We
Mm-hmm.
need to be putting a very large emphasis on what they are doing to our women.
Yeah.
We are not incubators. We are human
Mm.
beings.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
had to
I
because I agree.
I actually just kind of had a. This just reminded me of a conversation I had with a coworker of mine that I was actually pretty fond of, which is saying a lot considering the landscaping company that I work amongst. But I was sharing with him how or why the anti-abortion movement like is happening, what the motivations are, like what it looks like. Because a lot of Americans, I think, are very like they're just very politically unaware and they don't
Hmm.
have a good imagination for how politics plays out. And I basically was just like, okay, well, look over at Saudi Arabia. That is, that sort of culture that America really likes to spit on and villainize is, in fact, what the same conservatives, the same, you know, oligarch, these rich slavers, they want the same thing. Doesn't matter what part of the planet they're on. And then I told them a little bit about The Handmaid's Tale, which is, an even better example of, the forced sort of breeding class, which,
Absolutely.
Hmm.
yeah, it's
I
horrific.
think a
And
lot of
yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say he understood and it affected him a lot. Actually, go ahead.
that's that is awesome. I appreciate anybody without a uterus speaking on behalf of those with them, because in a lot of cases we are seen as lesser, just by,
Mm,
biology, unfortunately. Um,
mm,
so I really appreciate any assistance we can get from
That's
all of that. I do also want to just emphasize, I do think that when it really comes to it, when you have these discussions, I have these discussions frequently with other women. I think that in a lot of cases you'll find that people are most of the time agnostic to the idea of abortion.
yeah.
And like you said, like you touched on, it's really really difficult because I've shared local law as it pertains to abortion restrictions, and have kind of tried to have these discussions, but it's really big brain conversation when you're talking
Mhm,
about how our laws are written, and the wording
mhm,
that you use and the
Hmm.
verbiage that you use.
mhm,
uh, when you talk about that, that's real big brain kind of information. Not everyone is able to digest that, but that's something that we really need to be aware of. We're
mhm.
letting these other people decide how this is written, and because of that we held a woman in an incubator.
And then I
Yeah.
just want to kind of point out that a lot of people have this like misconception that abortion is like a topic that's like directly touched on in the Bible. Um, I just want to
Mhm,
dispel that. Abortion's never really directly talked about in the Bible. The loss of a fetus in and of itself by a third party person is in the Bible, in which it says that the only punishment for someone who essentially commits an act that results in the loss of a fetus should be a fine. So a lot of
Mhm.
these people who are sitting here saying that we need to make it illegal and lock up women and doctors who participate in these things is completely beyond me. Because you can't even like
Mhm.
use religion to justify it.
No, it's very clearly I don't know, a poorly hidden attempt at controlling women, and I suppose people with uteruses as a class, and and I think it's born out of insecurity. If we're gonna be like honest, I think it's just
Definitely,
straight up insecurity.
I definitely agree. And then
Um,
I will say that I've noticed that like the loudest people who have like the most craziest takes on abortion are
mhm.
people who would never be able to participate in getting an abortion. So it's just beyond wild to me why people think that they can just be like these experts at the topic when in
Yeah,
reality like they're not listening to the actual experts.
yeah, absolutely.
Would
I was
never be
about
in
to
that position.
segue into talking about listening to experts because on a quick side note, Tylenol.
Uh,
Oh, goodness gracious. That
Tylenol.
is also built to put blame on mothers. We're going to shift the blame away from the medical community and we're going to put it on America's mothers.
autism.
Yes, we're going to put it on mothers for taking Tylenol while pregnant. It is your fault that
Right.
your child has autism.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, I feel like honestly, is autism something that we blame like someone in particular? I feel like it's seems more symptomatic of like a very broad cultural uh sort of effect. Like I mean it seems to have a connection to even technology differences, having access to social media or
The
things like
one
that.
thing the one thing that we know for certain about autism thus far from the medical community is that it is genetic.
Okay.
So we do see a lot of these traits in the older community as well, from my understanding.
Hmm.
Uh, but we see it in different ways. Now, we do see it more prominently, and I do think that you touched on that really, really well. We do see it really a lot more prominently because of the age of technology, with children being hyper focused on iPads and things like that. It's a lot
Hmm.
easier to spot and do.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
But we do see these traits a lot in the older generation, but in different ways. We didn't call it autism; we called it something else.
We called it a
Uh,
Yeah.
lot of other things.
No, it was really normal when the guy down the street had like a model of the entire town in like
right.
proper scale.
Exactly, exactly. It was totally normal that my grandfather had a collection of coins that he had been collecting since he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
Right. Yeah.
And he knew
Yeah.
everything about them. He could just spit off facts like from the top of his head. Totally normal. He was just seen as a little odd, right?
Yeah.
Now we understand that hyperfixation is a symptom of an actual medical diagnosis.
And
Right.
this idea that like autism is this new thing is completely beyond me because my mom is like in her late 70s and one of the most autistic people that I have ever met in my life. Because if you talk to my mom, you'll notice that she has problem with tone, she has problem with picking up on sarcasm, picking
Mhm.
up on inferences. You have
Okay.
to be very direct when talking to her. Like these are all
Mm.
very clear classic signs of autism, along with like a affinity towards OCD related tendencies.
Mhm.
It's just a lot of them. And then even like my dad, he had in our basement when I was growing up an entire room where the entire floor was covered in little models of army men. I'm just like it's not this like new thing that just came in. It's just we are now able to identify and label and associate that all of these behaviors can constitute towards an autism diagnosis.
Yeah, I do want to say I think I mostly have an incoherent sort of grasp on what autism like really is, and I do think that the information that's available on it has been updating pretty fast. So I haven't had time to keep up to date on that, but I imagine, as with uh, like many things, especially in like the field of sort of human psychology, I think it's a bit of both. It's a bit of column A, being that it is probably genetic, but also it's like behavioral and societal, right? Because as far as I understand it, we are essentially juxtaposing like social sort of behavioral patterns and things like that, right? Which are relative. So seems societal as much as it is genetic, right?
I think the uptick in symptoms being shown is definitely a symptom of society at large.
But
Um,
it's also like defined by being outside of a certain norm,
yes,
right? Of behavioral range.
yes, that seems to be getting more and more. And also but we've also got this strange dichotomy that's kind of going on between our parents and the gentle parenting movement
Mm-hmm.
versus like society at large, right? Because society at
Mm-hmm.
large very much wants you to fit into this bubble. But then the
Right.
gentle parenting bucket that has really become a fad has kind of allowed children to be a little bit more authentic. So we're having this real
Yeah.
headbutt because these children feel more comfortable being authentic due to their
Mm-hmm.
parents and their parenting styles being so drastically different from the generation before, mixed with the society that has not changed a whole bunch. So we're seeing those symptoms significantly more prominently than we ever had.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's honestly to me, from my armchair perspective, it seems like it has so many facets that it's frankly like baffling to try and figure out from what angle I should try and approach it to understand, because
What
it
it
seems like one sorry, I was just going to say, as one angle is sort of like it is genetically marked. One angle is that it is marked by the sort of expectations of behaviors that society has set, and these things are sort of like oil and water, as far as I can understand them. I think you'd have to be very educated to have a synthesis between those two fields of
I
study.
I agree. I think at the very end of the day, the consensus that we can all come to is that where we need to be putting our money is not in Tylenol research and it's not in funding whatever iHerb has got going on with the cure for autism, but we need to be funding more medical
Yeah.
research into
Which
what it
I
is.
would just like to take a moment for TikTok purposes to just point out that Tylenol does not cause autism. Swedish
Right.
study, that spanned over almost a decade, that studied almost 2.5 million children, found that there was absolutely no correlation between people who took Tylenol during pregnancy and
Mhm.
their offspring having autism diagnoses. Like
Mhm.
it has been consistently studied and shown to just not be true, which kind of ties into this big like Trump is a huge spreader of misinformation. He usually
Oh
does these
yeah.
things to, in some form or fashion, benefit himself. So when you hear him make these kind of announcements, you need to really
Look
kind
for
of
the
like
grift.
Look, follow the money
I
and
want
see
to.
where it
Yeah.
goes. That's
Are
like
you
the
already
best advice.
segueing into? I wanted to say he is directly attacking a company, Johnson and Johnson, isn't he?
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
absolutely wild is like during that press conference, if you notice, like everybody was very careful to say acetaminophen, right? At
Mm-hmm.
least like the other people, they were very, very
Not
careful to
him.
say acetaminophen. But Trump, who has trouble
Mhm.
saying words that have more than three syllables in it, was just
Okay,
like
yeah.
the one to say the quiet part out loud, and he was like, Tylenol, don't take Tylenol. And I'm like, you do realize that you're
Yeah,
opening yourself up to massive amounts of lawsuits from Tylenol because you're directly saying a name brand. Like, there is
yeah.
acetaminophen out there that is not Tylenol. Like, they literally have
Mm,
off-brand acetaminophen, and you're sitting here over and over and over
yeah.
again directly attacking a name brand. Like, you're attacking a company. You're not attacking
See,
acetaminophen at this
it
point.
sounds to me like
Like,
you're calling it ignorance rather than malice. I assumed it was. Frankly, I thought it was malice. I
no,
thought,
no, 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 no.
it might.
The overall intention of trying to say that acetaminophen causes autism was pure malice, and it was pure
Okay, yeah,
selfishness, in terms of him trying to set up the stage so that RFK and the people that back in put monies into Trump's pocket directly can push this cure, quote unquote, to
yeah.
autism. The part of ignorance was him directly saying Tylenol as opposed to just saying
Right.
acetaminophen.
Well, that's kind of
Because
what I was actually talking about.
yeah, because I
I
don't
just
think that
I
he
thought,
fully realized that when he was sitting there. Because you have to understand, like, his senior advisor was appointed to being his senior advisor because the son of his senior advisor is married to Tiffany Trump, Trump's daughter. This guy is not someone who is inherently or necessarily qualified to be a senior advisor in the first place. He got this position through a form of nepotism. So
are
it's not
you?
like, say it again.
I was just gonna say, are you accusing Trump of nepotism? That is crazy.
Yeah, no, literally. I'm like, so it's not like he has people who are talking into his ear from a place of like intelligence. Everybody that he has surrounding him are people that have the sole intention of lining their pockets and making sure that by the end of Trump's presidency, they're richer than when he came into office.
Yeah.
So it's not
Mm.
like they're sitting here and warning him, like, hey, don't say Tylenol during this press conference. They literally just gave him a bunch of talking points, and I'm sure that when they said the word acetaminophen and he said, what is that? They were just like, essentially it's Tylenol. And so when he got up on
Yeah.
stage, he was just like, acebabebe, acetamide, aceba, how do you say this? Acetaminophen?
Saba Odie.
Essentially Tylenol. Don't take it. It's
Yeah.
Tylenol. It's bad. So yeah, the phrasing of using the word Tylenol in itself was from a place of stupidity and ignorance. Um,
Yeah.
I just
I
think
got
that he, one, didn't know how to say it, and two,
yeah.
didn't understand, like, the fact that there was a fundamental difference between just being Tylenol and just being acetaminophen.
I thought it might have been like motivated to actually damage Tylenol's reputation or something, but you're
I,
totally right. I think I was giving him too much credit.
Yeah, a little bit too much credit.
I think, yeah, I think it's ultimately, I think he was warned about that, but ultimately, I don't think that man cares.
No.
It's a secret, mysterious third thing, and that is that he's indifferent. He doesn't care who sues him. He's the president. He's tripled his wealth since he got into office. He doesn't give a shit.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. He's trying
Um,
to get into heaven.
I
Didn't you
will
hear?
point out, and this is going to be like the one and only time that I'm actually going to respond to absolutely anyone in chat for this, mostly because I'm trying to keep this focused on our discussion and not chat's interference. But someone essentially said that Tylenol and acetaminophen are synonyms. They're not. That's wrong.
Oh.
You're wrong. I don't know how else to say it. Um, like,
That's
And you
like
should feel bad.
the
Tylenol
shortest conversation.
is the company, and yes, while the product that they produce is acetaminophen, Tylenol, the name of in itself, is the company name. Like, it's a brand name. It's not the medication name. The proper name for the medication is acetaminophen. I mean, well,
Yeah.
Tyler, you know what I'm saying. But
Why don't you leave it to the professionals, okay?
well, I mean,
As
regardless of whether
So,
that's the only product that they produce, there's a
kidding.
distinct difference in how you're supposed to say it. Tylenol is a brand name that is owned by the company. It is
Yeah.
not. It's not how you should refer to it when you're making a
Yeah.
claim such as it leads to autism. Like, you
yes,
should use
all
acetaminophen to avoid lawsuits. That's just like being
Yeah.
smart overall. Like,
all
that's just not wanting to open yourself up to a lawsuit. Um
yeah.
anyways, last time I'm going to respond to comments. Continue on with the conversation.
Hmm.
But I just want to reiterate that again, this is not just an attack. I did misspeak a little bit. It's not just an attack on our medical communities. This is an attack on mothers.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Right.
an attack on moms to say it is your fault that your child
Yeah.
has autism, and it is not.
And it's also just very dangerous rhetoric to begin with, because then it kind of like platforms autism as like this disease, which is just
Hmm.
wrong because it's not a disease. It
Hmm. Yeah.
could be labeled a disability for sure, but it's definitely just not a disease.
It's
Right.
not as it doesn't have a cure. It doesn't
Hmm.
have a necessary cause.
Yeah, but it's also only a disability within the framework of, again, capitalism. That word is always coming around because it's trying to force everybody's, hobbies and skills into a commodified little box. And that's not how life naturally is, I believe. I frankly think that America works too much. I think much of the world works too much. And I think that autistic people, as they're labeled now, should be fine to have, time to hyperfixate. That's what the brain chemically, naturally wants to do. The thing that's unnatural is the completely intangible standards that are violently enforced by capitalism. You know,
Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that autism. That's been my thing. That's why it's so ambiguous. I'm like, I'm not even sure how much it's real. I think it's a thing, but I also think that it's like weaponized by capitalism and things like that. I don't think. Yeah, go ahead.
I think in a lot of ways, it is very advantageous to be autistic.
Hmm.
There are so many
Yeah.
good things that come along with it that I don't think that we acknowledge, in society because of, like you said, capitalism and
Mm-hmm.
this Western ideology that everyone
Hmm.
fits in this bubble. You fit either in this category, that category, blah blah blah, and if you don't,
Hmm.
then I don't know what to tell you. um
Yeah.
we're not built to be like that societally. Like, it's not meant to be like that. We look at other cultures around the world, there's a place for everyone in so
Hmm.
different cultures, especially like we
Hmm.
look historically, same thing. It can be
Hmm.
possible, it has happened, and it can happen
Yeah.
again. um
Lexi.
it's just
Oh, there you are.
we've got to stop attacking each other. We've got to get on the same page about some things.
Yeah. It seems politically motivated, like you said, to attack mothers, and by attacking mothers, like you're saying, you are attacking all of us, and I definitely think that's the aim. Essentially, it's just another. What did they say? Stop using like a certain vaccine for infants that are shortly
I'm gonna
shortly after
just
they're
I'm
born.
gonna curb tell this conversation, because when we go into vaccine talk, that's very easy to get this stream taken down.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Like no matter what we say, like whether we're pro or against or whatever, any of it is just a extremely slippery slope, because TikTok takes those kind of topics like however they want to take it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
I will kind of just say, like, no matter how you look at it, at the end of the day, like, science shows that, like, obviously you should be taking, if you're pregnant, Tylenol in moderation and with the consultation of
Hmm.
your doctor. When Trump says stuff like just don't take it, it's extremely dangerous, because one of the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
complications that happen during a pregnancy is the amount of pain that a mother can feel during that, and
Hmm.
that pain going untreated can lead to extreme consequences. So when we talk about wanting to be like pro pro child overall, when we talk about wanting to be pro
Hmm.
child, and be against abortions and stuff like that, I don't understand how you can take this pro child, anti abortion stance and then sit here and say the mother should be subjected to a extreme pain and stuff like that, seeing as how like
Yeah.
acetaminophen is like the only thing that has been shown to be safe for, you know, pregnant women. Like there isn't anything else out on the market. If there was something else out on the market that
Yeah.
had scientific backing and you know, like actual
Hmm.
evidence behind it showing that it was a safe thing for parents, for mothers to take during pregnancy, then yeah, cool, we could go for
Hmm.
that. Like for Pete's sake, if you know, happy plants, I'm just going to say happy plants, were something
Yeah.
that were safe for women to take during pregnancy, I would advocate for it. But you know,
Right.
studies just show that
Yeah.
acetaminophen is the only type of painkiller or, you know, pain management medication that a person who is pregnant
Hmm.
can take. So
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
it's just very dangerous, and it seems inherently anti-child and anti-mother
Yeah.
to
Yes,
sit here and
it
spew
is.
things like don't take Tylenol, because even Trump in his speech acknowledges, which I guess like a lot of his base just ignored because they still try to say, oh well, there's other things, but Trump literally said word for word, I know it's rough, you know, Tylenol, it's one of the only things that they can take,
Yeah.
but just don't take it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
tough it out. And that's just such
Uh-huh.
horrible, dangerous rhetoric, because it's not about toughing
Hmm.
it out, it's about keeping the mother and the child safe at the end of the day. If that's what you want
Yeah.
to tout, is being so pro child, pro this, pro that, then I just, it trips me out, because no matter what you believe this man with a brainworm, aka RFK,
Yeah.
or this big
By
baby
his own
orange
admission,
orangutan man child who's a shill for absolutely anybody that puts money into his pocket
I
at all, if you want to
really,
take their words as expert advice, that's just absolutely wild, because then you can make these claims and say, oh, but he's right, but he's right, but he's right. But then if I were to ask anybody who's saying that Trump and RFK were right to source me actual information, aside from just RFK and Trump's words, that prove that
yeah.
Tylenol is inherently extremely dangerous for pregnant women, as opposed to not taking it and going untreated and suffering through that pain, if I were to ask them for any source, evidence, site, or anything that backs up that claim,
He'll find
they
it.
get silent and just double down saying, oh, you're a shill for big pharma, or any of these other weird comments, like complete just attacks against me and not attacks against my point. So
Yeah.
essentially they respond with ad hominems, and absolutely no evidence to back up their counterclaim. um
If
there's
I can,
decades of research. Go right ahead, I'm so sorry.
I just want to expand on a point that you touched on pretty early. And that's just the amount of pain that is associated with pregnancy that I think a lot of people overlook. I've gone through two of those, hated both of them. Um, and
Mm.
I just like to, like, you cannot overstate the amount of stress and pain and inflammation that pregnancy puts onto a human body.
Yeah.
Um, that cannot be overstated. And any amount of stress can cause any number of issues. Any amount of pain can cause any number of issues. The largest of which being the most common, preeclampsia. That's a huge worry late in pregnancy. That's often caused by stress. It's a blood pressure issue. But this is often caused by the stress that pregnancy puts on the human body. When
Yeah.
you are not allowing, when you're telling women to tough it out, you are putting them at risk for these really, really dangerous situations. There are so many things that can go wrong in a pregnancy, and by not allowing a woman to take one of the very few things that are considered medically safe is so I cannot overstate how dangerous this is.
Powerful. Honestly, I
This
think you're
is
saying.
so, it is
Sorry.
awful.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going. I was going to say. Yeah. It's. I think it's intentionally done. Even if it is sort of like we've said, maybe not Trump who is the one who wishes this upon women and people with uteruses. I think that the people that are puppeting him very much know what they're doing, and they are. It's a psychological tactic, and it's a control tactic too. Just it attacks us in many subtle ways. It attacks our health. It attacks our, emotional well-being. It's demoralizing on a lot of fronts. It's very insidious, and I think it's intentional. They
Abs-
genuinely hate us and want us to suffer through these means.
Mm-hmm.
and
Um,
it's very purposeful. The communities that they attack the ones
yeah,
that have the smallest of voices.
yeah,
The immigrants. We moved on to the T community. We then moved
mhm,
on to women.
mhm,
Now we're moving on to Democrats. It
yeah.
is every single person that they see as less than, and they
Mm-hmm.
start at the smallest until there's no one left.
And then
Um,
I just want
oh,
to point out for anybody who may be watching this live or watching this back later, if you want to kind of like source that Swedish study that I mentioned earlier, um, and this is super easy, and it blows me that people don't understand how to do this. But if you go like right up to your little browser bar and you type in www.google.com and you type in Swedish study connecting Tylenol and autism, 2.5 million people, or any variation of that, it will actually, and believe this or not, bring you to the studies to where you can inform and
right.
educate yourself. And it's not that hard. Like, I get it. The
Wow.
internet is a very scary place, and Google can be very difficult to use. And maybe the typing on the keyboard could be a little bit complicated. I get it. And maybe even reading the results that are right in front of you can be very
Okay,
difficult
okay.
if you
This
never
is
learned how
scary.
to
This is
read.
scary. Stop.
But like,
This
I'm
is
just
very
being
scary.
honest with you. If you go to www.google.com, the world is at your
Oh my
fingertips.
God.
You have a supercomputer in your hand. Do not do not just live in ignorance, believing absolutely everything you say. Do research. Like, do research, and then if you
Okay,
want to
I'm
make a
literally gonna
counterclaim after
scream.
that, if you want to make a
You're
counterclaim after that,
frightening.
make your counterclaim with sources and evidence. I'm so sorry. I had to point that out because there are so many people out there that just do not understand that they can just, if they are so set on dying on the hill of being against what science says, that they need to actually source what they're claiming. Um
Wow.
but but moving on
That
from that.
was just in the spirit of October. That was so
So
that was
sorry.
so scary.
So sorry for that little moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
Google.
I kind of wanted to say a sort of closing statement, if you can excuse me for sort of uh, letting myself out on the way. But I kind of wanted to just mention that we started this whole discussion, talking about our activism
Mm-hmm.
um, to try and stop the G-side in Gaza, and we've sort of trudged our way through just about like every uh tangential, like attached issue, and that's what we're kind of, I feel like this entire stream has more or less been about the interconnectedness of all of these issues. And like I say, I think there's one culprit, and I won't say what it is another time, but I think we all know that they're all connected. And I just want to say that there's one more sort of angle that I think is very important to the issue, that we don't ever mention. And I think it's probably the most vulnerable community that is attacked by capitalism. Sorry, I couldn't help it. But capitalism is uh, attacking our planet and animals harder than any other community. And they are just as much of our siblings as, people. Um, I personally started my activism um, with my devotion towards life, ecological preservation. And I just wanted to kind of throw that in there, just a little splash of eco activism to keep in mind, because I think that obviously the wildlife population is oppressed in like absolutely nightmarish, unimaginable proportions, and we need to, we need to remember them. They are our allies. They're our siblings.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. And with that, I kind of did want to say, it's very late, and my partner is probably already upset with me for not being in bed. But thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. And before you go,
Mm.
I will be linking in some form or fashion on TikTok and on YouTube the link to a fundraiser. Would you like to talk a little bit about that fundraiser that we talked about?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. So, I shared a fundraiser that was posted by Ray, a woman who is raising 6 children in Gaza. It's through the platform chuffed.org. And I've been helping her through some weekly sums for a couple of months now, along with a few other families. I am on and I mean, it is just above minimum wage hourly rate. Um, I work a 9 to 5, and I can still afford to make a very meaningful difference for these families who need to afford food and medicine to live, and my quality of life is not affected. I think reaching out or allowing Gaza to reach out to you, because there are people who are trying to reach out from Gaza. They see us, they saw me, and they reached out to me. I had a very simple method of sort of vetting to make sure they are from Gaza. Asked them to send a picture, uh, putting up a peace sign or 3 fingers. You can use these methods to make sure that your money is getting towards people who really need it. And like I say, you make a very meaningful difference. So if you would share that with your viewers,
Yeah.
and they would be willing to share a little bit of money.
Yeah, I'm popping
Sorry.
it up on my stream right now. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Anything
so
that you can share, it has an impact.
as
And
you
there are other people
guys
out there. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I have to end it anyway. I got a live visibility restricted thing for popping this up on my stream just like I thought I would. I don't care. I'm still going to talk about
Wow.
what I wanted to talk about, and people who see this stream later can see it because I'm about to edit it soon anyway. This is kind of like the platform right here. I think I
Mm,
can zoom in on that a little bit more. You guys can go
mm,
here, look up this fundraiser right here, and you can donate any amount that you feel you would like to help these families out. This website's actually really good. For some weird reason, TikTok does not have uh, necessarily any pro Palestinian or pro Gaza fundraisers that I can link directly on my profile. I did, however, find one that is
yeah.
in my About Me on TikTok, and you can also look it up. I believe the name of it is War Child UK. And
Okay.
essentially, they provide um, supplies, aid to children who are suffering and being displaced due to ongoing
Mm,
wars and or occupations all over the world. Definitely another good charity to check out. Um, you know, the best way, the only thing that we can do here in America outside of actually like hopping on a flotilla. Shouts out to all of the brave activists
Yeah.
that did that, and actually going
Yeah.
over there and trying to deliver this aid, is donating to these causes and these families that are being displaced,
Right.
that are having to suffer through the ongoing genocide that is happening. And
Hmm.
we just need to kind of like do our part. We need to keep talking out about it, bringing awareness to it.
And get out there and get rowdy.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
Like,
out there.
go to your town halls, like protest, like speak up,
Yeah.
speak loud. Don't give up, because no matter what anybody might try to tell you, in the long run, it is worth being on the right side of history, no matter how you cut it. That
Yeah.
being said,
Yeah.
are there any last words from either of you that you would like to say before we hop off for the night?
Mm-mm.
It is late. Um, last words. Um, protect the dolls, protect our women. Free.
Yes. Well said.
Well said. Well said. Let me get the.
Hmm.
Definitely, definitely. All right. You guys, it has been absolutely great and amazing being on this live with you for an hour and 54 minutes. I
Hmm.
definitely appreciate everybody who stopped in, everybody that's shown love or had input, whether it be constructive or otherwise, just commenting down in that chat right there. Honestly, just boosts out visibility. And then everybody who
Thank
liked
you.
this stream, we ended this stream with over 2K likes, which helped push out the stream and boost visibility, and I definitely appreciate that, because we're
Well,
talking about very, very, very important topics here. So um all in all, stay active, be more active in your communities, do the best that you can, don't give up hope, because again, no matter how big the fire is, together, all of us, we can put it out.
yeah.
That being
That's
said,
right.
TikTok, have a
Uh,
good night. I ask that the two
Good
people on
night.
the call with me, you stick around just for a second while I end the stream, because I wanted to
Hmm.
talk about just one quick thing before then. Uh, TikTok, have a good night. YouTube, if you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, if you made it to the end of this, have a good night or morning, day, whatever.